Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the New Construction Marketing Podcast. I am your host, Anya Christianten, and I'm very excited to introduce our guest for today. His name is Rick Storlie, and Rick is a speaker and a trainer, and I had a pleasure of meeting him in person during SCBC, and I sat in on one of his presentations. And my mind was blown by the information that he shared with us. And so I thought he would be a perfect person to have on a podcast. And what we're going to talk about is model customer behavior before they purchase a home. So as a sales reps, we're sitting in a model home, and oftentimes we don't realize that when the customer first comes in, it may not be the first time that they're interacting with you as a brand. So Rick's going to talk to us about just how much interaction takes place before they ever step a foot into your model home, and what can we do as sales reps knowing this information. How can we sell to our customers differently? So welcome to the show, Rick. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Anya. I appreciate it very much.
Awesome. So Rick, we usually like to start things off by doing a quick intro. If you don't mind taking us through your story of how did you end up in this fun field of new home sales consulting?
Well, it's really a fascinating story, so I'll make sure I keep it down to about 15, 20 seconds. I am old school, literally. I am old. I started on a job site in 1988. It was my first job out of high school. In the summer times, I worked on framing new homes. And then when I went to school, I got my undergrad emphasis in real estate. So I actually got licensed in college. Started an internship with a local real estate broker in the same city that I went to school in. And then my father was a real estate broker, and he had partnered with a home builder, and they were developing some land together. And they would build 2 model homes a year, and they had a parade of homes in the spring and fall. And so my father would staff it with his people. They would build a home and sell it, and build a home and sell it. And I remember saying, well, Dad, don't you think maybe 2 homes a year, you're selling yourself a little bit short? Maybe we could do something more with this. And so I came out of school, and I said to my dad and his partner, I said, well, look, will you build a model home year round if I staff it for you? And they're like, sure, we'll give it a go. And so I started working the model home for them in school, collecting names and then giving it back to my father. And then as I got out of school, that's what I did. I mean, no training, completely green behind the ears. I just sort of willed my way to making some sales. And it was in a small town, and there was the builder competitors I was selling against. They didn't have salespeople. So we had a commission built into our prices. The other guys didn't. So we were always more expensive. So it was a great challenge to get started, knowing that you're more expensive, but the fact that, customer service and, I should say sales process and all that, we did take over and become one of the top builders in that community, going from 2 a year to we were doing, probably, close to 20 a year at the end. So that's where I started, and then I graduated to the point of where I was such a good salesperson. They thought I'd be a great sales manager, which of course I knew nothing about sales management. So I started there and realized that I don't know anything. So I got some training in sales management and did that for 5 years. And then that was at the point where that was right around 2004, 2005. The market was just turning here. That's the first time that we saw national builders start to reduce prices after, crazy boom of the early 2000s. And I went and I started working as a general manager for a custom builder. So I was doing more production, semi-custom work, and then I went into full custom as a GM and did that through 2006. And then we saw the writing on the wall, what was happening to the market. It was just starting to implode. So that's when I said, well, I guess this is my opportunity, right? We're going into the worst real estate market in probably our history since the 30s. I started my own business, and my former employer became my first customer. And so from there, I started out in sales management, doing virtual sales management, and then developed something called the functional sales system, which is really understanding why people buy the way they do today, and how to take that information and actually give it to a salesperson or a builder, and so that they can extrapolate it, and they can filter through the people that aren't going to buy versus the ones that are going to buy. And that's where we're at today.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that intro. So it sounds like you've kind of been there, done it, right? From
Really
building the homes to selling the homes to being a sales manager and GM. So
excellent.
I think you can relate to what we go through as sales reps sitting in that model home and all the ups and downs. And, when you have a customer coming in, and how do you know if that's the one, and do you put all your eggs in one basket, especially if you're busy? So but I thought your presentation was so fascinating, and I know that the data that you got for your presentation was directly from some of the clients that you're working with. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, we have clients all over the United States. I think I mentioned the price point: 250,000 to 2 million. Every market all over the U.S. And so the data, does it change somewhat based on the price point? The answer is yes, but the averages are pretty consistent. The behavior doesn't really change. It's just really the timeline. The higher the price point, the longer the lead or prospect is in the research phase. The lower the price point, the shorter the time, and usually the quicker the sale.
hmm Definitely, I can relate to that. I remember the days when I used to work for a big national builder, and on the last day of the month, I could literally get a couple of sales from people just coming in, for the first time into the model home. And if it's a lower price point, it's definitely possible to convince somebody to pull the trigger right there and then. I mean, it still happens with custom built homes, and when you're getting closer to $1 million price point. If somebody's ready, they're ready, but it's definitely typically a more of a longer sales process. And so I'm sure the same goes for the amount of research that they do before they ever show up into your model home. And you talked during your presentation about kind of a different phases
Mhm.
of a customer journey. So can you tell us about those phases?
Yeah, there's three phases. So awareness phase, consideration, and commitment. So the first phase is the awareness phase, and that's simply where the buyer is aware of you and they're a visitor on your website. So I call them an opportunity at that point. So if you look at it from, if you're in a model home right now, you have no idea. We call this is really part of the invisible market. If you take your market as a whole and you look at, okay, here's the people that I know about that are interested in purchasing from me, whether they be in the awareness or the consideration or the commitment phase, that's about 10% of the market. The other 90% is invisible. Those are people that are just getting the idea. They're thinking about it. They're not going to come to your model home. They're not going to call you. They're not going to go and do a web chat. They're not going to do any of that stuff. They're simply just thinking about it. Something's changing in their life. So that's where that's where everyone starts, is that awareness phase. Then the second phase is the consideration phase. Here they're going to make contact with you, but they're probably not ready to talk yet. And so we're going to call that a lead. And in my functional sales system, we call that an opt-in, or it's a permission-based opt-in relationship. So they give you permission to follow up with them, but they're not necessarily ready to talk to you. But they want, and you're giving them something in exchange, and that's usually some sort of a knowledge piece. The third phase is commitment phase. So here, this is where, like you have right now, that's your two-way conversation with your prospects. They've committed to giving you the opportunity to partner with them and build their home. So awareness is an opportunity, consideration is a lead, and commitment is a two-way conversation. Those are the three phases that people go through.
And how long would you say most people spend in each phase? Again, I'm sure it depends on the price point, but is there kind of a typical time spent in each phase that you find?
I'd say a lot of it's based on the lead source. So a realtor or a referral lead is going to spend a lot less time in that awareness phase. And I'm going to go back to value. This is important for salespeople to understand, is that there is a formula for value. And until value is met by your prospect, you're not going to make the sale. So there's two formulas. The first one is, I learned this in the classes through NAHB, but value is price performance divided by quality perception. So price performance divided by quality perception. And what that means is that whatever offer you give to your customer in the form of style of home, location, square footage, amenities, that is the quality perception of the customer. The price performance has to be equal to or greater than that. The price performance is simply how much money am I exchanging for that? So just imagine your customer sitting in front of you and they have $300,000 in cash sitting on your office table. And what they're going to do is they're going to push that cash across the table. In exchange, you're going to give them plans and specs, right?
Mhm.
And so what they say is, hey, the amount of cash I'm giving you is equal to or less than what I feel I'm getting from you in exchange.
Mhm.
If that is not met, if they feel like the cash is worth more than what they're getting in exchange, value has not been met and they're going to go elsewhere. Now,
Mhm.
to simplify the formula, think of this as value is it's simply commodities plus craftsmanship. Commodities plus craftsmanship. And what every salesperson needs to figure out is where that customer is on the value journey when you meet them. So let me just run a scenario to you. You have a realtor showing, it's an out of town client, they're meeting you at your model home, and they're in town for the weekend and they need to buy a home because of a transfer situation.
Mhm.
Value at that point is probably zero, right? There's a term out there I love. It's called commoditization, and when commoditization has happened in the home building industry, is you are looked at as simply a number. You're a price per square foot. How much for this? How much for that? There's no value there whatsoever, and so in essence, you win by having the lowest price, which we never have the lowest price. There's always somebody that's cheaper or perceived as cheaper.
Mhm.
So when you get a sale like that, or an opportunity like that, value hasn't been established. It's very, very difficult to close a deal. Back when I was selling, someone would say, "Here's my land. We've met with the architect. Here's my plan. Here's a rough idea of specs. Give me a bid." I got to the point where I quit getting bids without people paying me for it. I'd say, "Well, put down $500. I'll get you a bid," because they were already in bed with some other builder, and all they wanted to use me is to logically justify going with that builder.
Mhm.
We'd waste hours and a lot of time bidding out this home. We'd never get the deals. There was no value for what I was doing. Now, let's change that around. Let's say somebody is in the awareness phase and they go through your consideration phase. Let's say they spend, uh, you know, typically they come back to your website about twice before they opt in. So that's where they go into the consideration phase. If they spend 3+ months in the consideration phase, in what we call a nurturing program. A nurturing program is simply an educational program. It's where you're positioning yourself as the expert in your local market and you're teaching them about four things. First thing is design. How are homes put together? What are different design opportunities available? And design is always top of mind. It doesn't matter if the price point's 250 or 2 million. Design is number one. The second thing is picking the right location. The third thing is price. What constitutes price, what adds price as far as the complexity of the design, finish level, that sort of thing, and also location, obviously. And then finally, it's choosing that right builder partner. So there's four things that they're looking for, and it's typically in that order. They start out with design, then it's location, then they want to know how much it costs, and then they're trying to figure out who can build it for them.
Mhm.
So when people get to that point and they spend time in that nurturing program educating you, you start to develop value online. And the other thing that comes with that is trust. So if you find out that, hey, they walk into my model home and they opted into our website 3 months ago, and I can go back and I can look at the history of engagement with them. In other words, and I think I pulled some stats up here. This is quite interesting. I thought is that when people get into a buyer, when they actually get into the awareness phase, on average, they'll look at a little over 4 pages on your website, and they'll spend about a little over 10 minutes on your website. Now, from a salesperson standpoint, instead of model home, what does that mean? 5 minutes on your website is the equivalent of about 1 hour in your model home. So 10
Wow.
minutes, that's like a 2 hour
I was
appointment with
going to say
somebody.
10 minutes sounds like a lot of
It's a
time.
long time.
That's,
Yeah. Average amount of time that someone that's not going to buy from you spends on the website, it's about 3 minutes. So it's
mm,
more than 3 times that amount.
okay.
How many times do they come back? About 1.5 times, and then usually about 3 days between visits. So the more they do before they meet you, the more that you understand that value is established, trust is established, and as a salesperson, all you have to do is solidify it. So that's your sales process. That's your unique selling proposition, your builder story. Talking about the differences that you do with your homes and your process, and then they get to know you and like you as a person, and they trust you. If you
Mhm.
can do that, you're going to make the sale.
Okay, so I think it's more so realizing that when you meet this customer and they say, "Oh, I found you on the website," chances are they know about the floor plan that they want. Chances are they know about the community. They know exactly where you're situated. So it kind of gives you almost a shortcut, right? At that point, it's almost like don't screw it up, right?
Well, yeah, almost. I mean, back in the day when I started selling, there was no internet, right? So the most important thing was a be back.
Hmm.
Okay, someone comes in Saturday, they bring their parents back Sunday. Whatever it is, so that we get all excited about that, and that still happens a lot where we get the be backs. Uh, what's different today is that all this is happening before we get there. And so if we understand where the customer is in that journey, the easier it is for us to make the sale. And there's two key questions that I always will coach a salesperson to ask when that customer first walks in the door. Because number one, how long have you been looking at new homes? Find out how long they've been in the research phase. Because if they just started, you got to change your sales process. In other words, you need to start working on establishing value with that customer. Don't start closing because they're gonna give you the Heisman, right? They're not ready. Okay. The second question to ask is, yeah, have you had a chance to visit our website? If the answer is yes, well, great. What locations, floor plans? And so if they start telling you, yeah, we like this plan, and this is the location or locations we're considering, you bet. Then you go more into your sales process because they're seeing value in what you're doing. This is not their first rodeo. They may have been looking at you for weeks or months before they've ever come in. So those are two key questions you would always want to ask before you ever get into your sales process.
Okay. And so maybe to clarify even the how long have you been looking, because most people, it's almost like a guard that they put up there, right? They're just like, oh, we just started looking. So,
Yeah,
but
and that's the default answer, right? If you ask, well, are you looking at new homes? Yeah, well, we just started looking. But if
mhm,
you ask them, how long have you been looking at new homes? That's the key. That's the key question is how long. So it's
mhm,
not a yes or no question. It's an open ended question, and give me a time frame.
okay,
Again, just started. All right. Are you under contract with a realtor? Is another great question. If they've gone that step, they're pretty serious, right? So then you can get more into the nuts and bolts. But I will say this is that um, the key mistake that salespeople make in the model home is they go too quickly into what I'm going to call your solution. Your
mhm,
solution is your homes, your options, your pricing, your locations.
mhm,
That's your solution. What you need to spend more time is understanding the problems. What are they coming from? What background do they bring with them? Agitating those problems. In other words, well, if you make the wrong decision here, if you don't move, what happens? Before you ever get into that, the more you understand about the background of that particular prospect, both personally and what research they've done, the easier it is for you to make the sale.
mhm. And so going back to prospects spending time on your website, so you said if they're interested, they spend about 10 minutes on the website. So do you know what they're looking for? And if we have control over our website, what is it that we should be putting out there versus maybe something that people really don't care about?
Right. Okay. So what they don't care about is your awards, your story. They don't care about you because they're not there yet. So it changes, Anya, is that when they start in the awareness phase, they're looking first and foremost for photos and floor plans. They want to get design ideas because they can't visualize what they want to build.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mentioned this in the class, but I talked to a lot of custom builders, and they won't put floor plans on the website because I don't want someone to steal them. Biggest mistake. I said, Mr. Builder, that's the biggest mistake you can make because you never get the opportunity. You know how thrilling it would be if one of my competitors stole my plan because wow, that shows me what a great job I'm doing. But the thing is that people don't shop that way. And I'm sure you've had this experience. I know I have. Somebody finds a plan that you like.
Mm-hmm.
What do they think? You've built it, you designed it, so therefore, who's most qualified to build it for me? It's you. It's not builder B or C. So people latch on to floor plans. They have emotional attachments to it. And I've had the same thing happen where someone brought me a plan from another builder, said, hey, can you build this? Well, of course, sure we can. If I do customization, of course we can. How often do I get those deals? Rarely, if ever. They always go with the other builder who did the plan.
Right.
And because I'm guessing and they have it exact. So floor plans are the most valuable asset to your website. Available homes are second. your locations are third. And what happens is that your buyers, your future buyers, they go through your website in that order. So the first thing they want to see is what you can build. The second thing they want to know is how much is it going to cost. And then the third thing they want to know is, okay, where can I build at? So those are the three most important contents to have on your website. And I would also argue that's the most important stuff to have in your model home too. Have your floor plans, show them your available homes, examples of what you can build. And the available homes are always your full breadth of offering. So you have your entry level home, you have your meat and potatoes, which is typically your model, and then you have your hot upper end of the neighborhood. So you show them that, and then of course your location or locations where you're building.
Mm-hmm. And Rick, you brought up floor plans and pictures being the most important things you can have out there. Is there kind of a general rule of thumb that, okay, you should have, approximately this many pictures, or if you go here, you're going to lose a customer with kind of, when you offer them too many options versus, too few. So is there a good rule of thumb that we should look at? How many per floor plan should we put out there?
Floor plans, I'd say a minimum 5, and you don't really need more than 15 floor plans, 5 to 15. Photos, the only rule of thumb with photos, there's not a number rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is that number one, they got to be professional, high quality photos. You see a lot of crap out there for photos where salespeople are using their iPhone, taking pictures and getting on the website. That's fine for construction pictures, for you want to promote your homes under construction, but not for finished product. So I always think that, everyone knows that, and you still see it out there. So I want to mention that. But secondly is how you categorize the photos. They need to be categorized in an easy to navigate format. Now that could be by floor plan. If you're a production builder, you just do it by floor plan. If you're a semi-custom or a custom builder, you're going to do it by, I would say, break the home into different facets. So I might have an exterior section, owner suite section, a master bedroom, great room, kitchens. Break it up that way. And so it's easy to navigate, and I can get to where I want to go and spend time into the areas that are most important to me.
That makes sense. And one of the things you said during your presentation is that when people are looking at your website, they're not there to pick you. They're there to eliminate you. Cross
you off the list. Exactly.
Cross you off your list.
People shop by a process of exclusion. And you think about it. I mean, I use the example of, I think in that was purchasing a car. If you purchased a car recently, it used to be, okay, I go out on Saturday or Friday, and I drive from dealership to dealership to dealership, and I deal with these crazy salespeople, all trying to close me, before I leave. And today, I can look up the exact make and model, the exact price point I'm looking for. I can then narrow down my choices to what's in my local area. Then most of the time I can go to the dealership's website, and they have an online concierge, right? And I can chat with that concierge, and I can find out the availability and prices, and if I want to get an idea of what my car is worth for a trade-in. And then I might have 2 or 3 choices. Then I will actually set an appointment, and I might go out and see that vehicle on that time. New homes are the exact same way. I mean, why would I waste my time walking around and going from model to model to model without doing my research first? So absolutely, I'm eliminating what I don't feel fits. So case in point, if I get to your website and I don't see floor plans and photos and available homes and neighborhoods easily on your nav bar, you're off. I'm crossing you off, and I'm going on to the next one. So you get eliminated before you ever get the opportunity to meet somebody and sell them. So that's, again, going back to these custom builders that say, I don't want to put floor plans on my site because someone might steal them. You're not even getting the opportunity, to close these people. So you're always going to limit what you can do. And keep in mind, the biggest challenge, why do we build model homes? People can't visualize. They can't visualize, right? So we build model homes so they can visualize. So floor plans are so important to help them start to visualize what their home's going to look like and who's going to build it for them.
Great point there. And Rick, another question for you. So say I work for a small custom builder and their website is okay, but maybe not that great. Or even, say if I work for a big national builder, how important is it to have your own profile as a salesperson out on Zillow, on Realtor.com? all those sites, do you think that people are stalking not only the builder, but also the salesperson? Say if my builder does not have a great website, maybe I can go ahead and upload some of the pictures onto that Zillow site, showcase the floor plan, et cetera, et cetera. I have a great profile, maybe even have a profile video telling them about why I love helping people to find their dream home, et cetera. Do you have any information on that?
Well, I think it's a great question, Anya. And what it comes down to is that if I am put myself into my prospective buyer's shoes, am I searching out a salesperson or am I searching out a location to build or a price point or a floor plan? Just like the mistake builders make on their sites is where they take the about page and they make that the focus of the site. It's a glorified brochure about them, about their history, about the awards. And prospective buyers look at this and go, that's great, but what about how do I know what you build? Seeing is believing.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to attract more customers to me, I don't do it by promoting me. They don't care about me yet. They don't. And there's a great saying out there: is people don't care about you until they know how much you care about them.
Mm-hmm.
If you care about them, you'll give them the information that you're looking for. Case in point, I talked to a guy. Never was a client of mine, but there was a builder out of Tennessee, and they built their entire business on to be built listings, ghost listings. So they would just list homes on Zillow, on the MLS, Realtor.com, and it was this home for this price in this location. The home was not built yet, but that was how they generated their leads. And then they had one or two model homes. They would bring them and show that, and then they would pre-sell them, one of those homes. So that's what people are after. They want to see something, then they believe you can build it for them. Another thing that I'm sure has happened to you as well is if I'm sitting in a $250,000 home and I get someone that comes in and their budget's $225,000, they believe I can build a $225,000 home for them. Now, at the same time, if someone comes in and their budget's $350,000, they question whether I can do it. So I just keep going back to that. Is seeing is believing. What do you want to show online? You want to show photos, floor plans, available homes, and your locations where you can build. That's how you attract people. Now, once you attract them, do they want to get to know you and feel comfortable with you? Absolutely. So now I can start interjecting my personality, and I can do that too as I'm promoting my listings or my to-be-built homes or my model home. Is I can put my personality in that. But again, the focus is the photo and the floor plan, not me as a salesperson.
Mm-hmm. That's some good information there. And so I think it is important to have those profiles up, and you want to make sure it's current. But obviously, if your builder is maybe not on top of the website, got to give them a nudge and get some of those things on there to help you sell more homes. Because after all, people are such visual creatures that
Absolutely.
You want to make it as easy as possible.
I think, going back to what can a salesperson do if my builder's website is lacking, my Instagram, my Facebook, maybe, one thing I recommend is Pinterest boards, building Pinterest boards for all of your homes, especially homes that are under construction, because it's so hard to pre-sell a spec home before it's done. But with a Pinterest board, I can load up all of the specs. I can load up all the selections. I can put the floor plan on there. I can put the lot dimensions of where it's sitting. And then I can put construction photos as it goes. Now I can take that information and I can post it to my Instagram or my Facebook, and I can use that to attract people and get into conversations. But that's when where the customer starts to care about you is when they're interested in what you're offering from, I'm going to call it a product and price standpoint. They come to you, and then you're all about the process.
Got it. And I love that you brought up Pinterest. So I actually have a whole training on Pinterest, how to use it to help you sell more homes, because what's great about it is it's not just visual pictures and videos, but it's also a search engine. And most people don't realize that it's a search engine. And, people who are already on there searching for specific keywords, finding you, that those are going to be your customers. So
Yep, and they can follow the board, right, for updates and things. And it's a great tool for real estate.
Great. Yeah, I think most people really underutilize those tools. So there's always a way to make yourself stand out, make your community stand out, even if your builder is not the most techiest, not the most on top of it. And Rick, what would you say to builders who think that, hey, you know what, technology is great, but it comes down to seeing it in person, interacting with this person in person, because it's such a big decision that usually they need to come in and see everything in person. So how many people are they missing out on by not showing their products, their pictures on the website?
Wow, it's a great question. I think if you go back today and you look at, we talked about this, and if you say your goal is to sell, let's just say a home a month, 12 homes a year, and you're a custom builder, or maybe it's 2 a month, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you go back and say, okay, what percentage of sales am I getting sourced from online, whether it's social media, whether it's from online ads, or from my website, just organic search. I use the number that I think your goal should be 50%. Now, there are builders that are much higher than that. I have some clients that custom builders that do not have model homes, they might push 80%. Where all their leads are sourced online. But 50% is a good goal to start with. So right away, if you go back and you look at your last 12 months of sales and you figure out where did each of those people come from, it should be half of them from the website. If it's less than that, that's the percentage that you're missing right now by not having the right online presence. And that's a scary thought because we're in most locations, we're in a pretty strong market right now.
Yes.
Now, I realize there's been some softening lately, but we're in a pretty strong market. So the markets have sort of dictated how well we're doing. Well, when we go back to more of a more normal market or even a tough market, that will differentiate you from having a horrible year to a good year, or a good year to a great year, is that you're able to steal market share from your competitors. Right now we've been focusing more on just trying to keep up with demand versus actually trying to bring more in. But I do think the markets will be leveling out here, and I'm starting to see that in some areas already as we go forward into 2019. So yeah, that's what you're missing, is anything less than 50% of your online source sales. Now, with that said, it is a process, and so there also is a black hole here of that. If you don't know what you're doing, and you go out and say, I'm going to hire an SEO company, or someone to do my pay-per-click ads, or I'm going to hire someone to build my website, you could spend a whole lot of money on stuff that does not get you results either. Mm-hmm. One thing that I have found is that there is not a segmentation between lead generation, marketing, and sales. It's not a separate department. It all works together. So if I'm on the sales end of it and I'm sitting in that model home, I better know what's happening on the lead generation end of it and the marketing end of it. What is lead generation? It's just that. It's that I'm getting myself an opportunity to sell. What's marketing? Marketing is enhancing the value of my offering. And then, of course, the sales process is I'm advising my prospective client on their choices. And everyone has 3 choices, Anya. They can go with you, they can go with somebody else, or they can do nothing. Mm-hmm. That's the 3 choices. So if I understand how that lead came to me and the journey they took, I can say, hey, here's how we do it. Is this a good fit for you? And my goal as a salesperson is to take that customer or that prospective customer who's focused on 2 things. How much home can I get, and for how little money? Everyone is always focused on product and price when they get to me. So my job now is to understand that, okay, they were attracted by this ad that we ran for this particular home in this location. They came through. They were in our nurturing program for a little bit, so they see that we're a market leader here. And now my job is to shift their focus from product and price, how much home can I get for how little money, to process. Mm-hmm. Process. I want to know how much my home's going to cost. Okay, well, I can't do that until I have a conversation with them, understand their needs, wants, and wishes, figure out the right plan for them, the amenities, their budget, make it all work together, and then I can tell them exactly that. How do I do that? They have to trust me and follow my process. What I'm looking for is I want the customer to say, okay, Anya, what's the next step? Because once they've done that, they trust you, they see the value in what you're doing, and they're willing to let you guide them and advise them. And I always say that every title for a new home salesperson should be new home advisor. You want to be an advisor. You're not a salesperson. You're not a real estate agent. You're not a realtor. You're an advisor. And because someone's advisor, it's their doctor, it's their attorney, it's their financial planner, it's their accountant. They make an appointment, they go into that person, and they look to them for guidance. And that's what you're doing. You're guiding that person through your process. So the more you know when they come to you, the better you are off at saying, okay, here's where you are. This is the rest of the process. Let's go through it. I'll advise you and I'll get you from where you're at right now to where you want to be, which is enjoying and living in your new home.
Love this. Love this. And one of the points you brought up, which I think is genius, is that a lot of builders separate their marketing and sales department, right? So we have the marketing department and they do all the, the mass emails, and we have a salesperson and they don't really talk to each other.
No,
so
big mistake.
That's a big mistake, right? Because nobody knows your customer like your salesperson. And so the salespeople really need to be on the forefront of working with marketing together to figure out, okay, this is what I'm seeing. These are the objections that I'm getting. And this is what customer needs to understand in order to convert into a buyer. And
absolutely. And the feedback from the salespeople should be going to who's ever working on the ad campaigns to say, hey, this is what's hot right now. This is what people are asking about. So take and equate that to an ad to get more people in, because that is, in other words, what is really driving people to come into the model home, what's selling, that information should be given back to marketing or the lead generation people and saying, this is what you need to be running for ads. So and then the salespeople know that, oh, okay, you came in off of this ad. Yeah, that's a great home. Okay, let's talk more about that. So you understand what's going on both ends.
It's working, yeah. And very quickly, last question for you. So is there, a study, or is there any numbers that you have as far as, okay, so we have this person engaging with us on the website and they're reaching out as a lead. How important is it to respond to them in a timely manner? And, how quickly should I be responding to these people?
Yeah, I think we did talk about that. Great question. So if I'm an online concierge, my goal is to respond to them when they're still on the website. I mean, so we're talking in less than 3 minutes, right? If I don't have an online concierge, I want to respond to them for sure within, I want to call it 8 business hours. And if it's over a weekend, I want to do it within a 24-hour period. So yes, if you get a lead on Saturday, someone has to respond to them on, by Sunday. It's within that 24-hour period. The fun, and I know there's studies on this. I don't have a specific data, but you hear about this, and I know marketing people pull their hair out when they hear this. Is that it's like the percentage of people that get followed up with from submitting like a form on your website. It's so low, it's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing, which is why you really want to have a dedicated online concierge, because they understand the process. They're dedicated to following up. I understand if you don't have that, but if you don't have that, number one, you've got to make sure you have an autoresponder to follow up immediately. And then after that, there needs to be some sort of a personal follow-up no later than 8 business hours or 24 hours if it's over a weekend.
Yeah, think about it. It's a hot one on the other line, right? They're actually reaching out to you, which is, think about like what it takes to reach out to somebody, right? I don't want to talk to them.
And the important thing to remember is that they're reaching out to multiple builders.
Yes.
It's not just you, it's multiple people. So a great line to finish with, or at least thought about this is that our customer service or our follow-up is not compared to our builder competitor down the street. We're compared to our customers' favorite places to shop. So if you think about that, if like Amazon comes to mind, right? Everyone seems to more or less like the Amazon experience, right? What do I like about it? It's so simple. It's so quick. They have great customer service. So we're sort of compared to Amazon if we don't give that level of customer service. And my aunt used to work at Nordstrom's, and they were legendary for their customer service and the lengths they would go through. That's what you're compared to. So just because a builder isn't doing it does not give you the the justification to not go above and beyond for your customer service. You're compared to Amazon, Nordstrom's, Starbucks, whatever their favorite place is to do business.
Mhm.
That's the type of experience they're looking for. So the quicker the possible. I understand that life gets in the way. That's fine, but get the automation in there, and for sure get that personal follow up within 8 business hours or 24 if it's over a weekend.
Yes, love it. Thank you so much, Rick. I appreciate that. And Rick, if somebody wants to follow up with you, is there training courses that you offer? What's the best way to connect with you, and where do you hang out on social?
Well, best way to connect with me is through I hang out on social, mostly on my website. So nhsalescoach.com. That's N is in Nancy, H is in home, salescoach.com. And on there, I have 3 different products, or what we have an online academy, which is actually, we're just getting ready to bring that on this fall. That's where you can do an online course based on 1 of 5 problems or issues you might be having. Then we have my functional sales system. That's with the clients we work with all over the country. And then I also do some virtual sales management for a few key builders all over the country, which helping them anywhere from hire to manage their day-to-day lead generation, marketing, and sales operations. But you can also sign up. I will be doing a podcast here too, and I do some blogging as well.
Oh yeah,
And
I didn't realize.
yeah,
What's the name of your podcast?
oh, I don't have one yet. It will be called
Oh,
Coach's Corner. It's coming.
okay.
But called Coach's Corner, and I'm going to be taking different ideas from my online courses and just doing a simple podcast over them once a week. It'll come out, so about 4 times a month.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear that. I'm sure you have a lot of great information to share with us, and I'll be sure to link all of that in the show notes. And Rick, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time today. Like I said, I was just blown away by your presentation and all the interesting stats and data that you had. And would it be okay if I share that presentation with our listeners?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Okay, awesome. You guys, I'll link that on the show notes as well. And I can't wait to hear your podcast, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you in the near future again.
Thank you, Anya. I appreciate you having me on today.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.